All right, so next they move to the priority of fact and induction as an approach for evidentialist apologetics, right? And they tell us that although there are different varieties of evidentialist apologetics, they have several crucial aspects in common. And we'll look at probably 3 or 4 here that they'll give us. So the first one, evidentialism is primarily inductive rather than deductive in its logical form, right? Mm-hmm. And so, the distinction here is induction has to do with probability, deduction has to do with necessity in terms of the relationship between the premises and the conclusion, right? So evidentialism focuses on inductive inference as opposed to deductive inference. And so they say that we say primarily, obviously, because deduction does play a role in evidentialist arguments, as, of course, induction plays a role in classical apologetics. And it would be a mistake to characterize evidentialism as relying solely on inductive argument. Nevertheless, evidentialists insist that the verification of the central claims of Christianity unavoidably involves induction. So there's a focus on the inductive logic as opposed to deductive.
Right. And that's what they're going to push here. Well, the priority assigned to factual evidence over against rational deduction does not mean that evidentialists are critical of reason or logic. According to Montgomery, he says the law of contradiction and the logical thinking based upon it are not optional. They must be employed for any meaningful thought, theological or otherwise. However, evidentialists are suspicious of logic employed in a speculative manner, and they emphasize that rational arguments are only as good as the facts which they work. So logical coherence or consistency is at best a negative test for truth because it is possible to construct a coherent worldview that is actually false. Montgomery observes that the greatest of the world's madmen have held the most consistent delusions. Good quote. Good quote.
Yeah. So notice they suggest that even in a deductive argument, you still have to deal with facts, right? The premises, if true, force the conclusion to be true. But now you have to ask the question, are the premises factual? Are they true? And so they're suggesting that you always eventually have to deal with the facts when you're doing argumentation. So kind of interesting there.